if you were to break down wrestling into those sort of three phases, how would you do that and how would that look in your mind?
Oh, that's such a great question. I've seen that movie so many times and I've never even thought of how to answer that. Wow. Their dedication to the craft of just how much of themselves they're willing to give for the performance and the things that they're willing to give for the performance, how much it cost them that the fans don't know. Like the audience can only applaud what they can perceive. And what you have to give is even more than that. You have to give 100%, even though most audiences will only perceive 30 to 40% of it. And you have to be okay with that. And you have to be okay with that for life. I've always said that the shady character is someone that I would be if there were no consequences for my actions.
Welcome to another electrifying episode of the Commentary Booth live via satellite, where we peel back the curtain on your favourite wrestlers and their cinematic inspirations. I'm your host, Jamie Apps, and today we're getting magical as I chat with a man who you might know from his time as part of Shane Taylor Promotions in Ring of Honor, but who is now preparing for the upcoming Metroplex Wrestling Texas Rumble on February 7th. Joining us live via satellite, none other than the former five-time Metroplex champion, Shady JD Griffey. How are you?
Oh, wow. It still stings to hear that former. That's a tough one. It's too soon. It's too soon. But no, I'm good. Glad to be here and ready to get into it.
So thanks for joining me on the show today to chat about sort of film and its influence on your wrestling career. Before we dive into that though, how big a part of your life are sort of movies and TV?
Probably more than I'm comfortable admitting. Uh, yeah, I mean, I think those of us who enter into the entertainment industry are obviously influenced by it. In some ways more than we're aware of, but it's been a great deal for me personally.
Yeah, and I guess, yeah, if you're in that entertainment field trying to be on a wrestling TV show, if
Yeah,
you're not at least watching some sort of
yeah,
movie, TV to get influence, you're probably
yeah.
wasting a valuable resource.
Indeed, indeed, yeah.
So, obviously, today we're here to chat about a specific film. The big question: what have you chosen as the movie that has had its biggest influence on you and your wrestling?
It's the Christopher Nolan's The Prestige.
Very good choice. Great film. When and how were you first introduced to the Prestige?
I watched it when it came out. I did it at that time. I wasn't really into directors per se. It was just more of I just watched what I like, and then yeah, when I watched it, it hit me. It it hit me in a way that I wouldn't fully understand until later on in my life and career. Like I think it still. I watched it not too long ago with wrestler Mia Yim and a few other friends of mine, and she was like, "Oh man, this is crazy how much these magicians like how much their lives are like ours, like they're the
Mm-hmm.
traveling act, and they just dedicate themselves to the craft to the point to where they give parts of their own personal life to the craft, and nobody can ever know about it." So it was one of those things where I was like, "Yeah," I was like, it hit me like more just talking with her about it.
Yeah, when I rewatched it this weekend to prepare for our conversation, with that in mind of we were going to connect it to wrestling, those
Yeah,
lineups and things that tied it together, I was like, oh, that it's hitting in a different way than it did
yeah,
those first few times that I watched it.
yeah, 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 and it's one of those things that I find myself. I think we all have those movies that we kind of just replay at times. Like the Prestige, I want to say I watch it at least once a year. Like I usually around the holiday times. This time I watched it around the holidays, and yeah, I at least watch it once a year, and every time it hits me differently, and I connect with it a little bit more. So it's just one of those things that yeah, it kind of aligns more than then I give it credit the year before.
I also love watching it with people that haven't seen it before because it's
Right?
known
Yeah,
for the
for
big like
sure.
twists and reveals, and they still hit great today.
Yeah, I even get certain reveals of things that I didn't notice the last time I watched it. Like every time I watch it, it's like another layer peels back. It's I find it remarkable sometimes. Like it's just yeah.
Have you since gone on to become a bigger Christopher Nolan fan as well?
Yes. It's really strange. I like with everything that he comes out. I think the only thing that I haven't seen of his recently is like Oppenheimer.
Oh, that that's a good one.
But yeah, outside of that, like there's different movies that he has. Like obviously Inception was crazy. He did the Dark Knight trilogy, but my other favorite, the one I almost chose was Tenet. One of his recent ones, Tenet, and Tenet is like one of my favorite like thought experiments almost. And so yeah, but I love a lot of his work for different reasons and his different projects.
Yep. Yeah, Tenet's another good one where it's you almost need to watch that movie twice back to
Oh yeah,
back
you
to
have
fully
to, yeah,
understand it.
for sure, yeah.
So, in terms of the prestige, you mentioned sort of its impact and how it sort of aligns with wrestling. How has it impacted your wrestling persona?
It's more of the impact that it's had on me is the even both sides of the the conflicting characters, the like the twins and then the other magician, like their dedication to the craft of just how much of themselves they're willing to give for the performance and the things that they're willing to give for the performance, how much it cost them that the fans don't know. Like the audience can only applaud what they can perceive, and what you have to give is even more than that. You have to give 100%, even though most audiences will only perceive 30 to 40% of it, and you have to be okay with that. And you have to be okay with that for life. You really do have to be okay with it for life. And you don't realize how much you give of yourself until the show's over, I guess you would say. And that's always really stuck with me, just the commitment to to that, no matter what it does to your personal life. And I think almost every wrestler can relate to that. They can kind of and just even the sacrifices, just that the appreciation from the audience, no matter what side you're on, it kind of edifies your journey. And that's a good feeling because I mean, sometimes wrestling don't love you back, and I think those magicians, those illusionists, felt that. So
Yep. Yeah, that leads us into the sort of three themes that I wrote down when rewatching were obsession, sacrifice, and rivalry.
yeah,
When did your obsession and passion for wrestling first develop?
for me, it was very, very, very early in life. It was one of those things like I don't even remember exactly when it hooked me because I think as far as I can remember, like retaining conscious memories, like it was always like a thing that my brother and my father, was our thing that we did together. No matter what was going on in life, where we were, we would put it on pause for wrestling. And yeah, it's just it's always been there. It's always been there in one form or another. And it wasn't always cool to watch. Like it wasn't always
Mm-hmm.
cool in school and stuff like that. And it was just one of those things like you could almost see that other kid in class who like, oh, you watch it too, man. And so it started really, really early to answer your question, very, very early, and I don't think it ever left. I look at life sometimes now, and I go, oh man, I've become uh, the guy that I've seen on TV. Like I became that. It's one of those. You asked the question, "What if?" and I got the answer, and I've been happy with it thus far. So that obsession
Yep.
started very early.
Yep. And then obviously that leads into sacrifice as well. What are some of the biggest sacrifices you've had to make to pursue this wrestling passion?
Oh, it's really just time and self. Uh, a lot of times we talk about time away from family. I know you probably get that from a lot of performers, but it's just really that sense of self. And I saw that very early. My father being good friends with wrestler Booker T, and his son Brandon lived with us when I was in school, and I just remember seeing, Booker was always gone and traveling, and like Brandon just, it like just you could see like it was almost like everybody had a connection to his dad, but how he wanted it, I guess you would say. And
Yep.
I think it's just like self. Like there are certain things that about me that the public will never know because it's like a part of me, but there are also things about me as a performer, as a character, as an entertainer, as an athlete, all of the above that I can't bring home. There's certain things that you just can't bring home. And so it's almost like the twin characters, it was like they both had to live two incomplete lives. And it's really weird as an individual uh, to live two incomplete lives. I feel like I resonated with the twin characters, but I also resonated with Hugh Jackman's character as well, where you find yourself uh, deeper than you thought you would be, and no matter what it takes from you, you go, "I'll pay it." You pay it gladly, you know.
And then also, so in terms of Metroplex, who would you say is your biggest rival there as well?
I mean, I've had a few rivals. I would always say whoever had the championship. I've held that championship the most times. It's not even close. Uh, but I would say throughout the years, my greatest rival would have had to be Matthew Palmer, and he's stepped away as a full time performer. But Matthew Palmer, he was somebody that in our rivalry, I think he and I, even though we were enemies, I would say like we knew one another probably better than our families at times. I always knew what he was going to do next. He knew what I was going to do next. He knew what motivated me. I knew what motivated him. And I think I would say Matthew Palmer. And man, we've probably we probably ruined some holidays for one another in some of the injuries we've inflicted on one another. So yeah, probably Matthew Palmer.
I guess it's kind of like the magicians in this, where they, as soon as they see the other person do something, they know exactly how
Oh, it
they've done it
changes.
because
Yeah,
you've worked together so often.
that's exactly what it is. You kind of go like, well, now that he's done that, I got to do this, and now that he's done that, I got to do this, and yeah, there's a part of that that kind of reflects into like your career because you start finding things about your opposition, things about your rival, and those things that you don't like about them, you see it when you look in the mirror, and that affects you as well. And so it's and those times I'm sure Matthew would say the same, those times that he saw how far I was willing to go to win, he would say the same, where he'd go, well, if he's gonna go that far, I don't have a choice. And so I think it compares pretty well.
Attention, trading card collectors! Are you ready to take your collection to the next level? Dive into the action with the limited edition Australian wrestling card, showcasing the most electrifying talents Australia has to offer. Imagine owning cards featuring legends such as Robbie Eagles, Shazza McKenzie, Shane Hayes, Madison Eagles, and many, many more. But that's not all. You'll also snag cards of the iconic referees, commentators, and announcers, just like me, Lord Andy Coyne, to truly capture the spirit of Australian independent wrestling. And as our homegrown talent continues to dominate the world stage, Ozres cards are destined to become hot commodities. Not only will you be owning a valuable piece of wrestling history, but you'll also be supporting the amazing wrestlers and talented photographers behind the magic. So don't wait! Grab your Australian wrestling cards now at pariomagazine.com.au/Ozres cards. Order today and kickstart your collection with a bang!
Another area that the prestige ties in with wrestling is the core idea of the three elements of the magic trick, the pledge, the turn, and the prestige.
The turn and the prestige, yeah.
If you were to break down wrestling into those sort of three phases, how would you do that, and how would that look in your mind?
Oh, that's such a great question. I've seen that movie so many times, and I've never even thought of how to answer that. Wow. I would say the pledge is, the pledge is probably the matchup itself, your opponent, who you are, who you're facing, what you're going to do. And I think it's the mental preparation for that, because that's the part that's already established. That's the part that, in some cases, some would think is the most important, but it's almost the foregone conclusion, at the point that we get there. The turn is to where you take that ordinary thing and you make it extraordinary. And that's obviously the performance of the match, and just the ebbs and flows of what we do, and what it takes from us, and those things, those of us that do it well, the magic that people don't see. It's the magic that people don't see, and I think that's the part of, like, that this particular film that resonates with me when I'm out there is, you want to be so good at it. You obviously want to be appreciated, right? But you want to be so good at it that they don't know, like, they want to be fooled. You know what I mean? That, like, they don't know. If you're really good at it, they won't know how good you are. If you're really good at it, they'll never know how good you are. And then the prestige is not good enough to make something disappear. You have to bring it back, and that's the part in wrestling that people don't see is, and I'll keep that part close to the chest. It's what happens after. It's those things that you try to protect in this industry, which, as wrestling progresses, gets harder and harder to do, obviously. But those of us who have dedicated, in my case and some of my contemporaries, like half of our lifespan, up to this point, when you dedicate yourself to it like that, it's like in the film, sometimes you have to take your bow from under the stage, sometimes you're the guy on stage where everybody's applauding, and sometimes you're the guy, even though you've given that much, you have to hear the applause from under the stage, or in the twins case, which brother is the bird that's in the cage that gets smashed. Sometimes you're the bird that gets to fly away, and sometimes you're the other one, and you kind of know that going in, and you realize that everybody's important, to the referee down to the camera crew, production. That a lot of times people are only looking at us, but the camera crews and production, there are engineers, if you would. It's man, the more we talk about it kind of I realize more and more.
And there's one other element that I thought really tied in with wrestling, and it's the idea of the magician's secret, and then the concept of kayfabe in wrestling.
Yeah.
How much do you feel sort of modern internet and modern wrestling, like with shows like WWE Unreal, have changed how you have to present, and then how it's consumed as well?
Well, I don't want to speak for the industry as a whole. I'll speak for myself. I understand, like, for the sake of entertainment, um, why that would be an appeal, to want to have a show like that. And, like, obviously, as a child, I always wanted to know how it worked. But there were things I didn't learn until I got into training, and I was trained by Skandar Akbar and Killer Tim Brooks, who were very, very, very old school guys, and they, you became a part of their lineage. They had to trust you with their secrets, you know. And but I from my own personal standpoint, it doesn't bother me so much because it's just like, okay, all of this is telling you what they're looking at. I can't make people believe pro wrestling, but I think in 2026 I get people to believe me because there's an element of me in what I do. So they pull the curtain back and all I do is move the curtain, you know, and and people will never know where the performance begins and ends for me because it's kind of like the magicians, the I think he was Chinese. I couldn't remember the guy with the fish bowl, and his
Yep.
performance was like you couldn't tell. They had to find the key to the trick after the show was over, and he was dedicated to it. Like he was performing even when he thought no one was watching, and that's something that I think the best of us do is the performance. It never ends, you know, and it has its cost, you know.
And then if we look at the film as well, is there one particular scene that sticks out in your memory, and why is that scene so memorable for you?
Oh man, they're all so good. I want to say it's the reveal of how the trick is done, and you've been told the entire time it's a double, right? And even in the case of the twins, it's technically a double, and they both lived two separate lives, and they were so dedicated to those two people being one, and no matter how much it took a toll on them, they dedicated they dedicated themselves and they dedicated one another to seeing it done to the end. And I think that's the scene that sat with me because as wrestlers, that's exactly what we're doing. No matter what side the coin falls on, it's like no matter what's happening, I'm fully like you. The other wrestler has to tell their story, and I'm trusting that person with my body and vice versa. You know, I'm telling my story of who I am and them fully, you know, trusting me with their physical well-being, not just on screen, but in real life, you know. And I think that's one of those things that kind of sat with me is where you realize how much of yourself you're willing to give. And even when you realize that, the same has to be said for your counterpart.
Yep. Yeah, I love the reveal in the way that it is very wrestling like, where it gives you one reveal and then it twists
Yeah.
it and give you a second one on top of it
Yeah,
just to stick the
yeah.
knife in a little bit more.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I love that about the film because it kind of turns itself on its head and then it kind of flips it over. So it's like, oh, no matter how you look at it, the theme is the same. And that theme, and I think anybody who watches it, even if it's not wrestling, I think like even what you do as a host, like I feel like there are parts of your life that you have to dedicate to setting it up, to doing your research, to do like it doesn't matter what you do, some part of that film will resonate with you if you dedicated yourself to anything that you're passionate about.
Yep. And then as we close out our conversation around the film, what is the best piece of advice you've been given regarding wrestling inspiration, influence, or developing a character?
To believe, to believe in oneself, to believe in the performance, to believe they can't believe it if you don't. It was really believe. It was really believe. Look the part, be the part. And that's a lot of times the easiest thing to do is the elements of oneself. Like I've always said that the shady character is someone that I would be if there were no consequences for my actions. So there's an element of me in there, and it's like, well, how much of it? It's like, well, you would have to be a close personal friend to know something like that. So
And then if we look ahead, like I mentioned in the intro, you're currently preparing for the upcoming Metroplex Wrestling Texas Rumble on February 7th. How are you feeling leading into that show?
vengeful, I guess is the word I'm looking for. vengeful. Still, I'm trying to secure a an opportunity to get back what's rightfully mine, honestly. And if I'm being honest, I don't plan to be in the Rumble. I think the idea of fighting 29 other guys for property that's rightfully mine. Nobody knows more about being an MPX champion than me. The longest title reign, the shortest title reign, the most title reigns. I think if you ask anyone in MPX, I'm synonymous with the championship itself. I've, I always say that if MPX had a Mount Rushmore, it would be my face 4 times. So I mean, um, my plans are to go into the Rumble as champion and watch the Rumble and find out who my next opponent is. I'm going to treat the Rumble as a scouting report. That's going to be a scouting opportunity for me. But if that doesn't if it doesn't pan out that way and I have to enter the Rumble, it's 29 other people who are going to have a bad night. Bad night. It's going to be long night. Long night. Casket or classic, it's going to be a long night for whoever's in there with me.
And then for Australian fans, what makes Metroplex Wrestling so different from other promotions around the US, and why should we go out of our way to watch this show?
Oh, it's one of those things. Metroplex Wrestling has a unique it's a unique thing. It's not even a niche per se, but it's almost where it's something for everybody. And you see so many different shades of humanity, so many different shades of entertainment, and it's a bunch of it's a bunch of athletes telling stories. It's from top to bottom. The roster is very talented. Um, it's constant growth, and also the outreach with other companies that neighbor. It creates just opportunities. And Metroplex Wrestling is an opportunity for the audience. It's an opportunity for the cast and crew. It's one big opportunity, and so you got to kind of tune in, and it'll have an effect on each person itself. And first, I mean, honestly, if you get to see me every week, I don't know why you're not watching it, But that's me though. But yeah, Metroplex Wrestling is just nonstop. It's just action at all times, and it's the gift that keeps on giving. It gave you me.
And and then obviously with it being a Rumble, which is sort of synonymous with surprises, and
Yeah,
Athena from AEW and ROH has joined the management team there now.
yeah,
You never know who's going to show up in MPX, especially in a Rumble.
she always yeah, she and I have been friends for a long, long time. She always she's always trying to outdo what hasn't been done, and I think that shines through in things like this. Like she's a part of history in this industry as well. I one would say that she's in a class by herself, and even in a management capacity, whatever happened last year in the Rumble, we've had Mercedes Monet there, we've had Nick Nemeth, formerly known as Dolph Ziggler, and so it kind of makes you scratch your head where you go, what's going to happen? Because she goes into it wanting to do what hasn't been done, and Matthew Palmer he's a mad scientist when it comes to this industry as well, so he'll have something to say about it too. So you never know who's going to show up. So the Rumble's going to be the Rumble. That's all I can say about it. The Rumble's going to be the Rumble. Shoot, we don't even know who's going to be. We just wait to hear the music, and we're like, okay, here we are.
And so finally, where is the best place for people to support you and track your wrestling journey moving forward?
Stay tuned to AEW and Ring of Honor, and obviously, I am a I'm a pillar of Metroplex Wrestling, and you can get me on social media. Follow my journey on social media: Twitter that JD Griffey at that JD Griffey, and Instagram at Shady underscore JD underscore Griffey. That's the places you can find it. But tune in, watch ROH, watch AEW Collision. And yeah, and we'll see. You might see me back with big bro Shane Taylor soon. So yeah, just stay tuned.
Very cool. Alrighty. Thank you everyone else for listening to the commentary booth live via satellite. If you enjoyed the show, please remember to rate, review, and subscribe on podcast services and on YouTube. You can follow me on social media at JamieUpsMedia and at Pario Magazine. JD, thank you so much for taking the time and good luck getting the MPX world title back.
Oh yeah, I assure you, the next time we speak, I'll have a hardware with me. I appreciate you having me, and I enjoyed this conversation.